Welcome to Through the Lens on this 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 2009. At this time in the year 1918, an armistice went into effect which ended the hostilities in World War I. The war to end all of wars, or the Great War as it is sometimes referred to, ended officially by the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919. By proclamation, President Wilson declared November the 11th, 1919, as the first commemoration of Armistice Day. By an act of Congress in 1938, Armistice Day became a legal holiday. In 1954, Congress amended the 1938 Act by striking out the word armistice and inserting the word veterans. One would think this would be the end of the story, but not quite. In 1968, the Uniform Holiday Bill created 4 Mondays each year as national holidays: President's Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Columbus Day. However, it soon became apparent that Veterans Day was a matter of historic and patriotic significance to many Americans, and in 1975, President Ford signed a bill returning Veterans Day to November the 11th. Our guest this morning is Dick Slater, a greatest generation World War II veteran who went into Nagasaki 6 weeks after the atomic bombing in 1945. Dick shared his experience with us earlier this year on Through the Lens. Our presentation this morning is entitled World War I, Up Close and Personal. Dick, could you tell us how you came upon your father's World War I diary?
Yes, it surfaced after my mother died and we were cleaning out her apartment. And it just consisted of this book that I have here in my hands, which contained almost a year's worth of travels during World War I. And it's handwritten and difficult to read, and I reasoned that if anybody was ever going to read the contents and get any benefit, it would have to be typed. So I copied it in type form and consists of 57 pages.
You then put into your own words why one should write a diary.
Yeah, well, the mere existence of the diary begs a question, and that question is, why write a diary? Especially when the day-to-day conditions were so arduous that it must at times been difficult to concentrate, much less write. It provides a personal history, not a textbook recitation of dull facts and dates, but facts as they were lived, as they were seen through the eyes of a common soldier, a record for the future, so succeeding generations may better know the man, the world in which he was living, how he felt, how he viewed life, and in short, a legacy for posterity.
Before we get to the diary, let me tell our audience a bit about your father. James Edmund Slater was born April 9, 1891, in Katanning, Pennsylvania. He was a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy in 1914. The U.S. Congress declared war on Germany in April 1917. And 2 months later, Ed and June A. Dickey were married on June the 12th. Ed was inducted into the U.S. Army December 13, 1917, and served until May 24, 1919. He was assigned to the Medical Detachment, 323rd Field Artillery Regiment, 32nd Division, 3rd Army. The diary begins June the 1st at Camp Sherman, Ohio, and relates to 10 days of travel from the basic training camp near Chillicothe, Ohio, to the port of embarkation in Philadelphia. Dick, would you run through that phase of the diary for us, please?
Yeah, the diary is too long just to sit and read for the contents of this program. So what I've done is gone through and take snippets out of the diary. For the most part, it's just our interpretation of the words. There'll be twice during this presentation where I'll find it necessary to go to the exact words in the diary to get the true sense of emotion and the raw feelings that are embodied therein. It starts with the completion of artillery basic training at Camp Sherman in Chillicothe, Ohio. And they leave the camp by train at 10 a.m. on June 2nd. And as the diary continues, on the 2nd they pass through Parkersburg, West Virginia. They pass through Clarksburg, Martinsburg, West Virginia the next morning at 6 a.m. Harper's Ferry at 8 a.m., Washington, D.C., in time for lunch, Baltimore, Maryland at 3, and Philadelphia at 5 p.m., where the Red Cross serves refreshments. They continue on to Jersey City, New Jersey, and arrive there at 7:30. They're permitted to take the ferry into New York City, quote, to see the sights until 11 p.m. that night. On the 4th of June, the unit took a ferry from Jersey City to Long Island City, and then a train to Garden City, and thence to Camp Mills, which is adjacent, closest stop to Garden City. At Garden City, which is a gathering point for overseas, being close to the environs of New York City, his mother, would be my grandmother, had a sister who lived in New York City and married to Charles Hines. And so she was visiting at the time that my father was at Camp Mills, so was able to go into the city on the 7th to visit. I planned to do the same thing the following day, but all passes were revoked, and so the folks that he was going to visit came out to the camp instead. The next day, the 9th of June, was inspection of equipment and anticipation for leaving. On the 10th, they entrained at 4:30 a.m., and his words are, took the tube to New York City and to Philadelphia, arriving at 9:30 a.m.
The second segment describes the crossing of the North Atlantic, Philadelphia to Liverpool, England. The period was from June 11, 1918 through June the 28th. This crossing, as Ed will relate, is a transition period in which he will experience relative calm, Mother Nature's power at sea, and then suddenly dangers of a world at war.